with Ian and Jeff. And here we go.
Who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Hi, I'm Gail Rubenstein, the founder and CEO of a company called Retail Resilient Social Selling for the Car Industry. And we help auto dealers, auto agencies, and vendors in the auto industry sell more cars, service more cars, and make more money using our social selling strategy. That includes TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and anything else you can think of. So if you're looking to invest thousands and make millions, we're definitely the social selling company for you. Like I said, who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
If you run a service drive, you know these days first impressions matter. But when your advisors are tied up with inbound phone calls, they tend to neglect their other, more important duties. And did you know 75% of all service calls are frequently asked questions and routine requests? Still, the average dealer misses up to 30% of inbound calls, adding up to a ton of missed service opportunity and increased customer churn. 68% of callers actually go elsewhere if they can't get through, which means you could be losing $60,000 to $70,000 every month in service revenue simply from missing calls. So who will pick up? Introducing Brooke.
Hi there.
Your best service scheduling assistant. Brooke is the first intelligent digital voice assistant to answer, handle, and avoid all of your inbound service calls. And talking to Brooke is like talking to a friend with human-level understanding in a friendly conversational voice. Her conversational intelligence is built on millions of actual service industry conversations. Book with Brooke today. Visit Brooke.ai or call 866-942-1236. Finally, the perfect match.
Our goals are always to improve. Every month we want to improve better on what we did the month before, maybe the year before. It's about how fast we can get the cars done with quality work to get it to the front line, because that's where we make our money. And the bottom line is the longer it takes, the more money you spend. We want to get it down as low as possible. Right now, like I said, we're in a great stage. We're at 4.5 days. In recon, we want to know how quickly we can get the cars out of the recon process and to the front line. The average days in recon and then the time to line are the most important things to be looked at. I'm Mike Burrell, I'm Service Director at JM Lexus.
Larry Feldman is probably the most amazing trainer that I've ever experienced in this business. I've been in the car business now for 35 years, and I've seen quite a few trainers. A lot of them are pretty good. I mean, really, I get something out of all of them that I've seen, really. But Larry is in another class. I really mean that. His training is literally riveting. A little while back, I sat in on his first training that I ever sat in on. It was for new hires. I still remember. I'll never forget it. About 25 people in the room who had never sold cars before. And after 2 hours, I raised my hand. Larry stopped what he's doing and said, yes. And I said, maybe we should take a break. And literally, I'll never forget it. All 25 people turned around, looked at me, and went, well, we're okay. And he kept going for another 2 hours. Since then, I've seen a few other of his trainings. I've hired people out of his classes. All I can say is, you got to give him a try.
Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
So a couple books. I mean, it was a little hard to find books that I haven't already recommended, but retailing, re-engineering retail, breakthrough retailing, and the new rules of retail. So there's a few for you to check out. Jeff, go with your disclaimer. Hardest.
Hi, I'm the disclaimer man. Welcome everybody. It's I guess our first show of the unofficial winter, and thank you for joining us. And just to remind everybody, our disclaimer is the views and opinions expressed on this show today are that of our guests and not necessarily that of the AutoHub show or Ian Nethercott and Jeff Polo. And we do not have any opinionated guests today, so that's the good part.
We're going to be live in San Diego. So if anyone's going to be there live or you wanted to join in virtually, we'll be having shows throughout the week-long event. You can check it out on Used Car Week San Diego. And of course, on our website, you can book slots. It's pretty easy to do that. If you have questions, you can reach out to Jeff or myself. The show today is Walk-in Traffic, a Thing of the Past. So let's get started, Mr. Jeff.
Well, thanks again. And this is really quite the topic, actually. Everybody's talking about the change. We just ran the video that we didn't go live on the other platforms because we are not worthy. But the big question that we're having is with coming out of the pandemic, and so many people are talking about booking appointments and virtual sales, and of course, we know that Carvana has just gone crazy. Their stock value's just gone up by multiples. But the question is a walk-in traffic a thing of the past? And joining us today for the first time in a long time is our very good friend, Mr. John Latka from Fionaville, Canada, which was Halifax renamed. And John, say hi. Tell us a bit about yourself for those of you who don't remember.
Oh, great. Hi, everyone. I'm John Latka, and I have 35 years of experience in terms of sales, management, and leadership. I've had the pleasure of working in the automotive industry in the position of sales. And I worked my way up into managerial roles, and I managed dealerships in Hamilton, Toronto, Ottawa, and here in wonderful Halifax. And I've had my own business in terms of consulting and training now for 23 years. And the majority of our customers, of course, is from Atlantic Canada or are from Atlantic Canada. And we're happy to say that we've dealt with a little over 140 dealerships here, many of them on a long-term basis where we work with them for years on a regular basis. And that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Well, thank you very much. You call yourself nuts? Just kidding.
Uh-huh.
Now,
I just asked Larry, he'll tell you.
It takes one anyway. One thing based out of the general vicinity where you are, Steel Auto Group, and I really think you need to get into them for the winter months so they can get you down to their Texas stores and doing some training where it's warm. Next, we have our dear friend and beloved sponsor, Mr. Larry Feldman, joining us from Larryville, wherever he may be right now. Judging by the painting behind him, he's at home. Larry, please say hi and a quick introduction, please.
Quick is a relative term. I own a recruiting and training company all over the United States and a little bit of Canada, although I stay out of the way of my good and great friend, John Latka. And it's good to see everybody.
Terrific. Thank you. And that's our official slate of guests, but I do have to say we have some very, very good friends joining us today. And if our guests don't mind, I'm going to call on them because neither Peter Smith, Don Graff, or Tim Hayden are known for keeping for just sitting and watching their show and giving us good opinions. So guys, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. Don, good to see you again. It's been 3 weeks since we've seen you in Vegas, and we're sitting here in our version of winter, and I'm looking at your beautiful Bonita Springs behind you. So we'll get started right away. Ian, do you want to ask him a first question?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've seen a decline in retail traffic of all types, and it's kind of interesting because as I've been around malls pre-Christmas, I'm seeing more and more satellite stores and dealerships, including a Mazda store in Richmond that has a local remote, which is basically a mini store in a mall. I saw a Chrysler store in North Vancouver that has the same kind of setup. I'm seeing Polestar get into malls to compete with, obviously, Tesla's presence in malls. And I guess the question there is, obviously, as traffic from a retail car sales perspective has declined over the last, say, 5 to 10 years, is it the right move to then sort of really try and increase that by putting a remote facility in a traditional mall nearby that location? I mean, what do you think? So let's start with Larry.
I absolutely think it is. In Philadelphia, there was a gentleman named Jules Kuttner, brilliant owner of a Buick dealership. And he basically put a little used car lot, which all of a sudden one day had Buicks on it, brand new Buicks. And he was monumentally successful. I think the more places you can expose yourself, the more places you can put yourself in the line of fire, if you will, the better. I think eventually this pandemic hangover will go away, and people love cars. I mean, I don't know about you folks, but I saw a pair of shoes that looked really cool on the internet, and I bought them, and it was absolutely the wrong fit. And I think, how many times has everybody in the car business said, "What do you mean you don't want to drive it? Would you buy a pair of shoes without trying it?" So I think we'll see a return of some kind of normalization, and people want to go back into stores and get rolling. It's just like restaurants that, people didn't go out. Now they're in. And of course, now that they're in, there's no help, which is, I guess, is a whole nother show.
Right. Don, did you have any thoughts on this?
We have traffic here in Florida. The season has started. All the Northerners that have second places here have come from Minnesota and Canada and other places. So there is traffic at the dealerships. One of the things I've noticed is not all the dealerships are advertising on all of the virtual avenues. Like, they aren't all the same. Dealer may not be on cars.com and AutoTrader and MSN.com. They may only be using one or two of those channels, but they may be on some other channel. So it's hard to find the different vehicles you may be looking for. So you may be forced to go into a dealership now, or before they're all advertising on all the channels that were available to them. I think they're becoming more selective as they're deciding where they should be spending their advertising dollar. I wonder if anyone else has observed this.
John, what do you think? That's a great point.
Well, I haven't really observed the advertising dollars as such, other than, of course, people are using social media to try and drive traffic. And of course, radio is another thing that has been fairly popular here in Atlantic Canada. And I don't know about other areas in North America, but it's certainly been a popular area for dealers to advertise on. As for walk-in traffic, I'm visiting dealerships on a regular basis, and we see walk-in traffic happening. As a matter of fact, just last month, speaking with a salesperson I know at one of the dealerships here in Halifax, Dartmouth, he sold and delivered 21 units, and they were all in-person shoppers. He did not have any internet leads, did not have any telephone inquiries. They were all from walk-in traffic. So I believe that walk-in traffic will be increasing as time goes on. There's certainly room for it. And I agree with Larry that if a dealer has an opportunity to go elsewhere to show off their products, by all means, the more exposure, the better.
Yeah, I mean, I was at one of the big shopping streets yesterday with my wife in Vancouver called Robson Street, and I was amazed at the amount of open for lease properties. I mean, that's a huge opportunity for as you look at Polestar and other Lucid's another example that is really just their principal exposure is there. But if you got people, especially Christmas time, we know that's a little bit bigger shopping area that time of year. That may be a great opportunity for dealers. What do you think, Tim?
Well, I think Larry's already talked a little bit about human nature and our need to get behind the wheel to make sure it fits, make sure it feels good, it looks good on us. I think the thing you're going to see here is a push and pull, right? There will be an increase in foot traffic because of the hangover, the pandemic hangover, and maybe whatever this economic thing that's going to happen over the next 10 months is, whatever that means, right? But I think the other thing that's happened is everyone now has, and the pandemic accelerated this, has enjoyed the fact that they can buy anything in the world and have it delivered to their house. We're going to see more and more dealers who move to a high touch model and bring 1 to 2 vehicles to your house to let you drive them and let you have that same test drive experience by also showing it to your kids, your family, your neighbors, all those things. I think we'll see both of those things rise.
Fantastic. Peter, what do you think about the Greater Toronto area? I mean, I know the Eaton Center. I remember when that was built, but what do you think about malls versus dealers and how that's going in terms of traffic?
Well, in the GTA, we have a number of dealerships that have entered into the mall space. You have FAF having two of their Porsche dealerships available in malls. You have downtown Fine Cars, another Porsche dealership in Square One in Mississauga. You have Lucid, you have Tesla, Polestar, they're all in malls. So they're looking at the walk-in traffic as their generation model.
Right.
Tesla with the online direct to consumer, but they still have their service centers in malls. They're looking for the walk-in traffic. We've just noticed. I just looked up Carvana because I know Carvana is in deep financial trouble right now. They've fallen off the fiscal cliff. They went from $476 a share, and they're now trading at just over $6. They're calling for $1 a share on that. So the model of shopping online, delivering it to the house, is a great idea. It's a concept just like electric cars, great idea, but the execution of it is the challenge. And Carvana has definitely what everyone thought was the best execution has failed because they've lost their dealership licenses in a number of states. And once you lose the people's trust, they're done. And that's going to be damaging to Vroom and everyone else out there that are doing it. So I think you're going to find, just with that alone, you're going to find an increase of floor traffic at dealerships just because of the fear. Because people have an innate fear of the unknown. And they're not going to, if they see bad press, they're going to steer away from it.
Right.
Peter, can I add on to what you were saying?
Sure.
The other thing is how the dealers handle the concept of their stores and the excitement around their stores and the products. I love to go to the movies, love it. And like a lot of people, I started going back to the movies and I noticed that theaters were really empty. You know, a movie would come out and there'd be nobody in there until Top Gun came out and it was packed. It made $1 zillion. So we're really back to the old thing. If it's something that people want, if there's a demand, if there's some excitement. John Lotka and me are buddies. John's a lot calmer than me and I'm a lot crazier than him, but we both teach the same thing. To fill people with a sense, boy, am I glad you're here, and a big smile and an enthusiastic greeting. If we can make the place more approachable, I think everybody on this program knows that we have a huge advantage in our business. People hate us. Now, I can see Tim Hayden going, Larry, I don't think that's an advantage. It is, because nothing is stronger than when a negative, hey, be quiet, you're muted. Nothing is stronger than when a negative is overcome by a positive. Is there anybody in the car business that hasn't heard this? Hey, you're really nice for a car salesperson. You're in. So if we can now take this time while dealers are actually making a few bucks, and maybe even a lot more than a few bucks, get guys like a Lotka or a Feldman. Focus on making the place really fun and joyous. Hey, I'm old. I remember when the idea was you put balloons up. It looked festive. And everybody on this program knows that if it's an empty showroom and you negotiate, you're in trouble. But if there's 92 people running around, if there's an sense of excitement and fear of missing out. So that's all. I'm actually pretty optimistic about what's coming.
Fantastic.
Yeah, if I just jump in there, I think one of the things missing as I walk into some dealerships is in speaking with some of the managers, speaking with some of the sales people, you know, there tends to be a lack of enthusiasm.
Uh-oh. We lost them.
Okay. Going up, etc. And yet people are still coming into the showroom.
Wait a minute,
So
John.
they're coming into the showroom.
John, wait a minute.
Let's be somewhat enthusiastic. Let's have the right attitude. Go ahead, Larry.
Hopefully you didn't wake up any of these managers to discuss with them because they enjoy their naps very heavily.
Actually, I bypassed them, went to the dealer principal who agreed to sign a check.
You know what, Locke? I got to pay more attention to you, buddy. You got the right idea.
Jeff, question.
You want to go where the business is and take advantage of it at that moment. That's a valuable lesson. Strike while the iron's hot.
Exactly. Jeff, question.
Well, my apologies. I went to the Bahamas for a second, and it was just absolutely lovely. Actually, for some reason, everything shut down on me, so I had to reset and come back. And hey, with everybody here, I didn't have to worry. So, Larry, you mentioned that maybe now with dealers making some money and everything, they can work on these things. I have a fear. I have a fear that things have been so good that they've thrown what's the saying? The baby out with the bathwater. And I do believe I'm one of those people that believes traffic will come back. We're seeing the malls busy. We're seeing theaters get busy. Yesterday, I went to my local Costco downtown here in Vancouver, and normally the parking lot's only, half full. Now, there was a big football game on, but it was packed. I drove around for 20 minutes. I started to have a panic attack because it's underground, and it was packed. They're not ready for it. The parking wasn't ready for it. The staff wasn't ready for it. Nobody was ready for it. If traffic comes back, and we have been spoiled because all we had to do was have a website and a car, what are we going to do when people start walking in? And before I mention that my question, or finish my question, I saw something on TikTok the other day. And a woman was filming herself trying to have a confrontation with the manager at a dealership. And nobody would let her talk to him because I guess she's a pain in the butt. Their showroom, it was a Ford dealer. They did not have one single new car in their showroom. They had the owner's collection, a Boss 429 Mustang, an AC Cobra, a doll, an old Bronco with lifts on it. There was no new cars. So he's making money. What are we going to do when traffic comes back and we're not ready? So
the answer is, I can give you the answer real quick. I'm a musician. I'll defer to the great from Philadelphia, Jerry Butler, who had a song called Only the Strong Survive. The operators on this, guys like Tim Hayden, they're not going to have a problem because they're using their time to make their people better and prepare. Guys like me and Latka and Don Graff, we're going to rock and roll because they're going to need good consultants and people. So it's the same thing as it always is. It's Darwinism. The strong people will figure and get through every shift, and the weak people will find one more excuse. Weak people always find a good reason to lose. That's my humble opinion.
Well, it's interesting.
Is it going to be too much, too late?
Too much, too late for the people that are weak, and perfect for the people that are strong.
Well, it's
right? I mean, anybody disagree with that? Peter, what do you think?
Well, in that right there, I agree 100% because you have an.
You can stop now. You agree? That's perfect.
Right now you have an untold amount of dealerships being acquired by groups. So that means the stronger surviving, the weaker getting out of the game because 95% of dealerships are profitable. So why get rid of a profitable business if it's making money? These guys are getting out because the stress is coming up. They're worried about the next session that's going to go through. Is it going to be a recreation of the pandemic? Is it going to be an economic cliff? It's going to be this. It's going to be. They're getting out. They're weak. I agree with you 100%, and it's shown. So now you have these people that are going in, and it's the ideal operational time. And I can say, as a person who's been involved in it, I've been recruited to be a differentiator in a dealership, to disrupt the hell out of it, to scare the shit out of the sales team, to get them all on their toes and get the numbers up. And then next thing you know, the dealership sold.
Right.
Why? And that's going to happen. And that's where the training's going to come in. They're going to use the profit. Hopefully the smart guys are going to use the profitability to get the trainers in, to get their numbers up, to get the experience level up, to get the CSIs up, get the profits up, keep the momentum going that they have now. Understand the data points, like with Ian's new company. There's so much coming in the next 6 months that the opportunity now is to manage that traffic that's going to increase coming through the door, and they got to get on it right away.
I'm only smiling because I'm thinking of the dealer on his yacht with a supermodel thinking, gosh, we got to work on that training aspect.
Okay, but Larry, here in Canada, we tend not to have yachts. It's generally ranches, snowmobile, ski chalets.
This is why I visit. Laka lives there.
There is a dealer principal that does have a jet airplane.
Yeah, well, I made a joke, and it's one of my favorite jokes, is that NADA, they actually had, an airplane manufacturer there right on the main floor. And
there you go.
Yeah, and then there was one fella I saw posted on LinkedIn how it was so much quicker to fly by helicopter between his dealerships than drive. So yeah, it's a good thing. So Tim, what's your opinion on that?
I think you guys are all saying the right thing. This is any business, any vertical, any industry. It's the strong who survive. It's the ones who lean into it, and it's the ones who iterate their business, right? I forgot who said babies in bathwater earlier, right? There's no shiny object to move towards right now. There's just leaning into it and doing what works and doing more of it, pouring more fuel on that fire. I will say though that if you're not understanding how it's not just a car business that changes the way people behave and what they expect of you, that's where you're going to get bit in the butt. I mean, that's what I was saying earlier, just about things are not limited to the real estate the dealer sits on in terms of that experience. So everything Larry's saying about smiling when people show up, you got to be smiling everywhere you go. You got to be taking people out to coffee. You got to be working it from every angle you can. So I just think it is not as easy as just saying, hey, let's invest in the dealer and people are going to come back. It's just not that easy.
No. Yeah. Well, it's certainly a big risk because, I talk to a lot of people who are commenting on the fact that they walk into a dealership right now and nobody knows what to do. If there's a dealer just opened downtown here, it's probably a $50 million building in a $1 billion tower. And literally, Ian, you walked in there.
Yeah.
And literally you walk in and everybody sees you walk in, they pick up the phone and they just pretend that you're not there.
Yeah, it was
So
interesting experience.
I repeat, dealer on a boat, a yacht, okay, with a supermodel. No. Listen, now I'm not kidding. Okay, since I had the pleasure of the first time I was on the show and got to meet the legendary John Lotkin, my new best buddies Ian and Jeff, I had no help. I now have an assistant and 2 guys working for me, and I'm busier than I used to be because I trust them, but I still want to check up on everything they do. Because if anybody on the planet thinks inspect and expect is less important now, they're making a huge mistake. Okay, Tim, you probably already bought my book because you like how insane I am. I wrote a book called Inner Moron Demons. And I've had 10 dealers call me and said, you're crazy, your book's crazy, but I love the line, if you want to stay rich, act like you're broke. And if you want to go broke, act like you're rich. I used to sneak back into my dealership at night just to see who would pick up a piece of trash or who would do it. I would fire people. I'm not a prick, but I would fire people if when the phone would ring and somebody'd answer, they say, tell them I'm not here. No, tell them you're here and you're glad that they called. So if you think about it, again, I swear to God, I'm not complaining because some of you are in the business. By the way, Peter, I love you. Anybody that brags about disrupting things, you're my man, okay? Let Lockett train you and we'll burn a building down for the secretaries. It's no problem. But if you're not paying attention to what you do, you're dead. But once again, I know that I just met Peter, okay? I know Tim from the show. If you're involved with Tim or anybody around Tim, they're going to be happy because Tim's going to pull them aside and say, do me a favor. If you're having a bad day, go home. If not, make them know you're glad to be there. But that's endemic in everything. These guys don't let me be political. Do I have to say anything more about Pierre Trudeau or Joe Biden? When you don't pay attention to things, you're dead. You're just dead. things just slip
Moving right along.
Yes. Now, please remember the disclaimer here at the AutoHub show is the fact that the views expressed here are not necessarily just of people talking, so don't shut us down.
No, it was John Lockett that said that. He's the ventriloquist. I'm just a dummy. I know at least Don Graff will agree with that part.
Well, it's funny.
We've had a dealer tune in, although he's not on screen yet. So when Dave Jackson gets a chance to come on here, because everybody on today at the moment is ex-dealers and ancillary people onto dealerships. If Dave gets a chance to tune in there visually or even audibly, I'd love to get his opinion on that.
I just got the Kerrigan report this morning. Did anyone else see the report today?
No. Go ahead.
The Gaffigan report?
Kerrigan. The Gaffigan report. Dealer survey for 2022. Valuations, and 60% are projecting record evaluations will sustain into 2023. That's pretty positive.
Yeah,
but it's dealership valuations. Larry mentioned about the dealer on the yacht with the supermodel. Well, the dealer got on that yacht with the supermodel a long time ago and got there because they had a very good ops person. And that ops person got there because they had very good GMs. GMs got there because they had very good sales managers. Very good sales managers had good salespeople. But, I can't remember the song, but Larry, you'll know who sang "Where Have All the Whatever Gone." But where have they?
That would be the Kinks, brother.
There we go.
The Kinks. Where have all the good times gone?
The Kings or the Kinks?
The Kinks. Kinks. Guys.
Hey, that's
all you know is Brian Adams and Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah. But where is this dealer going to be when his good salespeople have gone, his sales managers have gone because they've gotten lazy and fat. Their GMs have gone because they can't do anything wrong, and then all of a sudden, the boat's gone because the mortgage isn't being paid.
I'll give you the answer. I'll give you the answer, and I'll be very political correct for a change. I won't use the name. Don Graff will give me the thumbs up on this. We're aware of, and have both worked for a dealership group that was immense. Every building was gigantic, like a mausoleum, unbelievably well capitalized, and they had a bad relative come in. You know where I'm talking about, Jersey Graff, and they are out of business. You would have bet anything you had that this place never would have went out of business, that they were invincible. Don, am I right? You know who I'm talking
Absolutely.
about.
This is a dealer group that Mercedes, Lexus, Toyota, BMW, top 10 in the country in every brand, Northern New Jersey and the Wealth Belt.
Yep. You got to keep your eye on the ball. And the problem with these big businesses is when they get too big, they get so disconnected from the guy at the top to the people in the middle to the people at the bottom that they can really get in trouble. John, if like me, you've approached big dealership groups, I mean, gigantic ones, isn't it crazy how many layers of people you have to go through? Or you get the greatest hire of all time, and after 19 people make up their mind, the guy went to work somewhere else. So again, we're just back to the basics.
That's why I got out of recruiting 10 years ago.
Now you're fine, Don. And Don, I checked with
It's like ridiculous. That a guy went through 3 interviews. He finally took a job with a smaller group.
Don, you're 100% correct. And I checked with Jeff and Ian. There is no reciprocity in San Diego and Vegas, so you can get into the state. That arrest warrant will not travel. You're disruptive. You never hung with the legendary Don Graff.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned about the layers of people, and Ian and I are discovering now getting some guests on the show from some companies requires running through a defensive end first.
Yeah, the gatekeepers.
The gatekeepers, and I mean, it's like, okay, well, tell us what you're going to talk about. Tell us who's going to be there. Who else is going to be joining it? Well, we're in the process of getting but we need to know so we can approve them. Bang.
Yeah. Well,
it's just for somebody to, you want to hire somebody. You want to make somebody money. You want to handle that customer coming through the door, and everybody's got gatekeepers.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was listening to the news this morning. Japan has, I think, the worst currency performance in a long time. And they were talking to a guy who manages a big hotel group internationally for Asia and Japan. And he says, well, our biggest problem isn't people coming from the United States who all want to come stay here because it's cheap. It's that we can't find any staff for any of these hotels that are high-end properties. I think it's IHG. But the thing that was interesting is I was in one of the newest Porsche dealers in Vancouver, built by a guy you'd know, probably the largest Porsche store in market. But the people in that store couldn't figure out how to sell accessories at the store that just opened. They had no idea what the price was or what the process was. Or, I mean, beautiful facility, stunning, but, had they trained the people in the store? No, they hadn't. I mean,
But
prices on things. I mean, it was ridiculous.
That's because who's walking in the door, Ian? Somebody that doesn't say, I want to get a GT3 Porsche because I want to take it out on track day, because what I need is different gear ratios. I need the better torque. I need the proper seating. I need all that. It's called, what's your most expensive one? And that's really cool. And can I get it wrapped in pink?
I guess, but I mean, at the end of the day, I think that to Larry's point earlier, it's not the brand so much. It's not even the group size. It's the fact that you need to focus on these details. If you're selling Tiffany diamonds, or if you're selling computer monitors, or if you're selling, Levi's, the problems are the same. It's really a question of how do you treat those customers. I mean, there's a retailer in Canada that's been around. I think they're the oldest corporation. They actually, Goldman Sachs and them just merged. They opened up a Levi's boutique location downtown, and I went there to see, okay, what is Levi's doing? And the store is really no different than any other Levi's store. I mean, there's no experience difference. There's no anything. And this is not a new company. But again, it's a focus on how are you hiring people? How are you training them? What's the customer experience? Do you have the staffing? And I mean, Jeff knows this better than anyone. Living in Edmonton, the biggest mall in Canada is in Edmonton. It's not as big as the one in Minneapolis, but it's again a gargantuan mall. Even that mall isn't doing what it was before. But
and it can also be about controlling perception. If you pull your team together and explain this is what we're trying to do and how we're trying to do it, you can kind of shift the world in whatever direction you want. This is going to sound funny because these guys are experts. I'm just a lunatic they invite on. I had a radio show when I had my Cadillac store. And I interviewed Ralph Nader. And it was so interesting because, again, if you're too young, you have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. But guys my age and Locke's age know what I'm talking about. Ralph Nader came out with a book called Unsafe at Any Speed. It was about the Corvair. And back then, the expression was, in America, as General Motors goes, so goes the country. Because they were it. They were the Apple, the Walmart. That was them. And they considered it a disgrace that you would do anything to defame General Motors. Well, what Nader was trying to say was that you were in a collision. The Corvair had like a spear sticking out. It looked good, but you got impaled on your own steering wheel. This led to airbags and better water and all kinds of safety things. But every conservative, if they had their chance, would have killed this guy. Till we fast forward, and he runs against Bush and Gore. And because he siphoned off votes from Gore, Bush was in. Now every liberal hated him. Well, I've used that example a lot, but now we've just seen it with Tesla. Elon Musk is the coolest guy on the planet. Everybody, screw everybody else. Elon's my guy until he decides he wants to defend free speech. Now he's a Nazi bastard who should get hung upside down naked. So really, if we don't discuss the perception we want to put out there and what we want to be, you're dead. The reason I used the early example is I'm in my dealership. I didn't own it. I'm working there. A manager comes out and the phone rings. The operator says, boss, it's for you. He says, tell him I left. That never left my mind since then. And I'm talking 30 years ago. These guys will tell you, I always answer my phone. I'm freaking out because I missed 3 calls that my girl didn't grab. But it burned me up because I thought, what if it's somebody with a minor problem and you fix it, you look like a hero? If it stays a problem overnight, the guy hates you. What if it's somebody who wants to buy 3 cars and he's in a hurry and then he goes down the block? So it's all in how we shape our perception, how our team feels. If the owner's the first guy to run out of the office and say, hey, I wanted to thank you for your business, the managers are going to do it. If the managers do it, the salespeople are going to do it. And it just runs downhill.
If I can just throw something in to the mix. basically what it boils down to, guys, is one thing. I refer to it as CPR. And I don't mean this CPR. I'm talking about communications, processes, and relationships. If you get those going in your dealership or any business for that matter, guess what? You are going to thrive.
Now, Peter tried that. He said he had to actually use the real CPR. Because when the guy found out what his managers were doing, he had a stroke.
Well, that's what happens when I walk into a dealership and the dealer principal says, I hired Latka to help us out. And they go, what?
Well, you know what? So the thing about that there, John, is the good thing is the dealerships all have those automatic defibrillators. So when people come in and see the prices of the cars, they've already got it so they can wake them up.
Yeah, but the problem is they've usually moved them into the finance office. They're not in the showroom.
Yeah, they wheel them into the finance office. So now the question here is okay, so walk-in traffic returns and we're ready. What's going to be the next disruptor? And actually, Peter, you mentioned you were a disruptor. So what's the next disruptor?
Staffing. Staffing is the next disruptor. Without a shadow of doubt, you're going to find that you're going to have a massive turnover. Like Colin Richardson posted something a couple of weeks ago that talked about in 2021, there was a 46% turnover at car dealerships, although the average wage at a car dealership was over 100K. 46% turnover. And then it dropped to 34%, and the wage still remained the same. I predict once the inventory levels change, you're gonna see a staffing change in the dealership like never seen before. It's gonna be record. It's gonna be probably somewhere around. Is that a bet there, Larry?
No, I'm saying there'll be more hundreds coming my way.
Yeah, there's going to be a staffing turnover. My estimation is going to be somewhere between 50 and 55% next year.
Right.
And with that staffing turnover, people are going to be scrambling to deal with what are they going to do. And we all know that dealer principals go, did you talk to that guy? Go grab him back out of his car. I don't care if he's driving down the lot at 40 miles an hour. Jump on his hood. Stop him. And because that was an opportunity you just lost. And I just lost money because you were too busy talking to that guy who's not buying a car. And the staffing change is going to be dramatic because in the pandemic, when everyone got COVID drunk from the profits, they turned around and said, I know car dealerships that went from $1,500 GPAs to $7,000 GPAs. And it's just ridiculous. So all these people that are making $2,000 commissions on cars are going back to the $300, $400 commissions. And then when they do the job properly, they're making $500, $600, $700.
Peter, two things. One, they won't even make the $200 or $300 commission because they've gotten so out of shape in terms of building rapport and listening. And sadly, I was just being cute with the 100 to say I'll make more dough. You're righter than you think you are. I have a favorite pizza place. If next time if John Locke ever comes to Philly, if Jeff and Ian ever venture over, I live at this place. It was a little pizza place.
Wait a minute, Larry. I've been told all you eat is plain steak.
No, it's like being on the phone with Anthony Bourdain. I eat pizza too. It's crazy. So this is my hangout. Every business meeting I have, they were a little hole-in-the-wall pizza place, and they grew into a giant catering establishment, which usually means death. They flourished. So I always tell my wife, I don't care what the hell you're doing. I'm either leaving. I've been married long enough I can get away with this. I'm leaving with you or without you, but I'm leaving by 5:15 because if you wait 10 extra minutes, there's 90 people in line.
Yeah.
So I drag my wife out. Hair's still wet. We get to the restaurant. I can't get a table. And I'm thinking there's 20 empty tables. They had such low staffing that you couldn't wait. It gets uglier. and Jeff's dead right. I'm the world's pickiest eater. It's like eating with a 9-year-old. We went to the movies, okay? And I said to my wife, there's an IHOP. I love IHOP. 40 minutes to get a table. There was nobody in the restaurant. So we're already seeing that endemic upon us, Peter. It's people don't want to work. I mean, we used to laugh, again, guys our age, we'd laugh, the young guys maybe not thinking the way we thought. But now it's like anathema to even think about working. I just never thought I'd see anything like this. It's really, really scary because probably everywhere you go, there's a shortage of help and things can't get done. And again, from a practical standpoint, I love it because I got guys calling me all over the planet now that need people. But I do love my country and I do kind of love people, and I am scared to death because when you see a societal breakdown like that and tax bases go away and just the economic wheels start turning, then what the hell's going to happen? That might be a bigger problem than what we're talking about on the show. Is it too late to change the topic, Jeff? I mean, we already found out that Peter's a disruptor and don't let your children bathe at your house. Something about babies and bathwater getting thrown out.
Well, real quick on that. I mean, what you're talking about there in terms of being out of shape, Larry, and Peter, your points on staffing and this endemic thing that you're coloring for everybody. Just think about what dealers have done so well over the last 15 years. They have bet the house on Facebook and Google to fill the top of the funnel. They have all of a sudden invested in these BDC call center, contact center partners who will just smile and dial for you all day long. All of the above does what? It erodes any semblance of a customer relationship. It erodes anything. It gets in the way of what the dealer, everything we've been talking about, right? Building that experience and building that relationship. So this is a hard turn, guys. This is not just an easy thing to say that the pandemic hangover is going to be over and people are going to start walking back on the lot. We got to do something about it. It's the fact that there's nobody in the car business, hardly anybody. Let's be fair. There's hardly anybody in the car business who's really been moving in that direction for 10 years of the relationship.
I agree.
Hey, Tim, you want to hear something scary within what you're talking about? I was focusing a little bit, like everybody is, just to see how it's going to turn out on Twitter with Elon Musk. I'm not the biggest fan of electric cars. I'm going to be frank with you. I honestly think both our countries in the world are moving way too fast. They're not paying attention to what we have to get from China. It just doesn't make any sense to me. We're 20, 30 years ahead of schedule, and we're forcing people into economic destruction. But I kind of like Musk because he's got enough money. He don't care about anybody or anything. He's going to do what he believes. So who are his competitors that a lot of people, conservatives like myself, feel twist the whole perspective of the world? I just saw that Facebook is going to do massive layoffs. So if we're now in Canada, what's all the dealers going to be on TikTok for 30 seconds? So you're 100% right. Even the things that we've shifted to that maybe guys like you and me, Tim, because we're both personable, if I can say that, like even they're starting to go sideways. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, John, but it is my natural habit.
Listen, in terms of, disrupting, the other month I did a podcast, and the title of the podcast is "You May Be Right, I May Be Crazy." And what I talk about is a different way in terms of staffing. Just imagine hiring people that are new to the business, training them properly in communications, in processes, in building relationships. And for the first 2 years, they have showroom duty, let's say 5 days a week. But in the third year, they now only have 4 days of showroom duty. It's not to say they're not working on the fifth day, but they're not committed or tied to the showroom or the dealership for that matter. And you can progress where the person after 4 years or 5 years is only committed to 1 day of showroom duty. But the rest of the time, what's the person doing? He's getting referral business, repeat business, setting up appointments. It's not that they're not working, it's just that they don't have to wait for the next up. They're building a business within a business, and properly coached and managed, I believe that that can really work well.
Hey, Peter, we really are disruptors. Between you may be right, I might be crazy, which is Billy Joel. Where
Yeah,
the
that's
good times going, which is the Kinks and Jerry Butler. We just turned Jeff and Ian into DJs.
I think Dave might have a comment there. Dave, you have a comment on staffing?
Wow, I got comments on a whole bunch of stuff today. Holy smokes! God, I don't think you sell your dealership because you're weak. I totally disagree with that. I also, we talk about staffing and yeah, it's going to be a problem, but you're going to have to treat your people right. You're going to have to do what's right. We talked about training and what is training now? I mean, some of the training that went on years ago is totally different now. So you got a guy sitting at his desk all day on his cell phone. Are you going to go crazy on him because he's not doing the job? How do you know he's not on TikTok, releasing some videos on YouTube, doing some Facebook videos, doing some other stuff, and he's got 10,000 followers following him every single day to see what he's doing and what he's selling and how he's doing it and everything else? He's not doing his showroom duties. He's still selling cars. We talk about how the shift, like Tim said, we shifted here, we did the shift to Facebook. That's what we do. We shift, we adapt. Every single day we shift and we adapt, and that's we're proactive. We don't, if you want to sit back and watch the world go by, yeah, sure, you're gonna get left behind. But you have to be able to adapt and change and move ahead. And I think if you're paying people right, you're treating them right. It's not you're on the floor from this time. I've seen stores, where the guy's got to stand at the door for an hour because he's on point. I mean, give me a break.
Yeah, but your comments don't necessarily contradict our comments. Because
they do.
I kind of made a joke about like waking up the managers. What you said, I agree with you. But if you don't pull a guy into your office once in a while and communicate with them, what are you doing? How are you doing? What can I do to make you better? I'll debate with you all day long. There is a disconnect. I'm in 300 dealerships at this point, and between the top and the middle, there's gaps. I'm just saying.
You better not do it every once in a while.
Exactly.
Okay, well then you're with me. You just reversed.
You better not pull it in every once in a while. Perhaps
okay. Well, that's what the point we were trying to make.
That's all I'm saying is, is the traffic coming back? I mean, the traffic was gone before COVID anyway. I mean, these people are online. They look at the stuff online. They know more about the cars than any of our sales reps are ever going to know. They know exactly what they're looking at when they come in. They've got more product knowledge than the salespeople are ever going to have on these vehicles. And they know exactly what they want. There's all kinds of disruptors. A lot of people are coming in now because they got a lot of questions about electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles and how they work. And there's lots of knowledgeable stuff. I talked to a guy from BC, and he told me it's just a waste of time. Every single customer comes in, just wants to know, he's a Hyundai dealer, and everybody wants to know about these electric Hyundais. He goes, what? A pain in the ass for my salesman. They're wasting their time. And I thought, they're wasting their time. Are you crazy? They're not wasting their time. They're filling the customer with some knowledge, and the guy goes somewhere else and they get none. They're coming back to those guys. And it's, the old farmer, you harvest what you sow, you know what I mean? And it still holds true in the car business today. And it's never going to change. That part of it's never going to change. You still have relationships. You still have, yes, the BDCs have deteriorated a lot of those relationships because you get the same phone list being regurgitated every 5 days. I mean, it's insanity, right? Like, it's just insanity. All you're doing is pissing people off. I don't, you know what? I get this phone list. Yeah, okay, we'll get on the phones, but I mean, you got to be a little more creative in what you do. These guys on the phone sending out these phone lists, to me, it's craziness. It's just crazy, like you got to target different. You have to think different, and you have to work different. But as far as the showroom traffic, I think we're going to see more of it because I think we're going to have a lot more questions about electric vehicles and hybrids and service on those vehicles and a lot of things to do with it. I mean, it's a known fact with electric vehicles, they're heavier. You're going to burn out tires quicker. So it's going to be more maintenance on tires. There's going to be so many questions, and these customers are going to be coming in and they're going to be asking these questions, and that's where you need to have your people prepared, not to sell today, but to sell tomorrow. And as far as pay plans and everything else, the whole world's changed. Nobody wants to work 9 to 5 anymore. They don't. You know, they want to work from home. They want to do this. They want to do that. And as I said, when they're on their phones, sorry, I'm ranting here now. But it's just the world's changing. You know, the world's changing. Not only are dealerships changing, but training is changing, and you guys have to change too to adapt to what we're up against, right?
100%.
Absolutely.
100%.
Doing it every day.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at training today, and I was having this discussion, I think, with John last week, but also I have discussions almost every day with dealers. I've been training dealers for almost 12 years in various areas. The biggest challenge today, I think, is that, you know, not only are the way you promote your dealership or the way you handle customers or the questions they have changing, but also the philosophy of those employees, maybe not just the older ones, but the younger ones, is very different. They don't look at things the same way. I mean, I was at this new dealership I was talking about, and I was talking to a young lady who's maybe she's 30, Asian background. She was at their boutique location before they opened this big gargantuan store. And she had questions about the economy, not so much selling me the car. She had questions about the economy, and she had other questions. So it was kind of interesting because I think that younger person is definitely, you know, they're open-minded in different ways. So, I mean, that's my 10 cents on it. But Jeff, and since it's the time, did you have a final question?
Well, I got to tell you something. This show went by just super fast. Dave, I appreciate you jumping on. Dave and I talked earlier, and he drove down to Calgary from Edmonton super fast just to get the last half hour.
Well, it was not super fast. It was not super fast. It's,
I saw the pictures, man. It was. You guys got hit with snow like you wouldn't believe.
And we still are. It's 16 below, and it's snowing pretty good right now. So.
Wow. Okay, I won't complain that it's 5 here, which in American terms is like 32, 3 or 4 or whatever.
Yeah, but you still got to be there.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Oh,
no, I saw the picture. It was crazy. But so a question for you, Dave. So you're saying, it sounds like you're saying that traffic is actually not going to come back the way that it sounds like, or we think it was. Is that the case?
I don't think the traditional traffic in the sense, 20 years ago, you logged your ups and you had the little log sheet and you logged your ups and all. I don't think that aspect of it is ever coming back. But I think that the quality of the traffic coming in is a whole lot better. Yeah. And I think it used to be, you'd have 10 ups and, you'd sell 2 of them. It used to be 70%, 75% closing ratio, and it was high fives and everything else. You know what I mean? I think your closing ratio on people coming in now will be higher, just not right today. I think it's a longer sales process. I think it's some people are going to come in and buy right now, but some other people, it's going to be 2-3 visits, and how they're treated is going to determine if they're coming back and when they're coming back. And I think they're a smarter buyer now. I think they have a lot more knowledge, and I think we have to adapt and train our staff to, I've seen it so many times. A guy goes in for the big hit all at once, and the customer leaves, and he never comes back. Like, just mellow out a little bit.
I agree with you, Dave. Many years ago, when I first came to the car business, my first manager told me I was too soft, and I had to learn GFTT, go for the throat. And over the years, I developed my own style, and I sold people from blue collar all the way up to John Pierpont, who's a John Pierpont Morgan of the bank, because I was in central New Jersey where they all lived. And through the years, I found that many times I didn't sell so many first-time buyers, but I did sell a lot of second-time buyers, and repeat customers that they said, "Oh, those be-backs never come back." They became my best customers and sent me the most referrals. I can remember I went through a divorce in the car business, as many people do, but because I was a good guy, people brought me cookies and customers. I refer to that cookies and customers, my hours of need, that got me through this. And now I went to NEDA Dealer Academy, became a Toyota dealer. I wasn't the dealer, I was the general manager. I got into the world of digital, and the rest is history. But I agree wholeheartedly with you. It's all about the training. I'm working with the client now. We're totally redoing the CRM. The whole approach to the customer is changing. It's a lot more touching and feeling. There's no more, you got to come in and get the price. You got to come and see us. It's more, what can we do for you? What kind of coffee do you like? We can have donuts.
Yeah.
Is your wife available?
It's crazy. It's crazy. We want customers to buy our cars online, but we don't want to buy theirs.
Yeah.
Right.
Makes no sense, right?
Well, Dave, you should talk to Ian about his experience trying to sell his car. It was quite eye-opening.
Yeah, there's an article on LinkedIn if you want to read it, and this is every different angle to that, so you can lose some learnings from it. But the thing that was really interesting, and is still interesting because one of the dealers that are still in play, it's all about long-term follow-up. The entire thing, the front end process is there's all kinds of variation, but the long-term follow-up is what gets it done, in my opinion.
I did 5 mystery shops earlier this year. I was talking to Larry about it the other day. Now there's 75 mystery shops, 66% dropped the lead after 3 days or less. And the current analysis from Digital Airstrike is new car buyers are in the market right now for 30 to 40 days. The average lead has dropped after 22 days.
Well, yeah, I mean, and these are not small dealerships and not small companies. There's the article if you're curious.
No one's watching from the top. The sales manager and the general sales manager are afraid to tell the owner because the profits have been so high. I mean, I was pitching a deal. I said, listen, you're losing $5,000 a deal. I could come in and help you out for a couple of months and recover that. When it was only $800 a deal, it probably didn't matter. I said, you know, Donnie, I'm okay. Come back to me in a couple of months. Well, now it's a couple of months, dude. What are you going to do?
Well, big dealers, small dealers, all the same relevance, right?
Oh yeah. I mean,
I mean, my expenses are lower than a big dealer, but they're still my expenses. You know what I mean? Like it's,
They hit you faster.
Yeah. If I lose $5,000 on 10 cars as opposed to a guy losing $5,000 on 100 cars, it's still the same relevance. You know, I don't have a yacht. I got a dinghy.
Okay. Dave, all I know is that when Don said go for the throat, I saw a little gleam in John Locke's eyes. We went through the press of John Locke. Canada better beware.
Yeah, the process is really interesting. If you want theories on the process or you want some examples, let me know. I posted the article. I have emails from multiple different companies, including some of the heavy hitters in the Canadian market and also big dealer groups. But the thing that I learned from it, from a customer point of view, was basically, you know, as a dealership, you need to stand apart, but more importantly, you need to have a long tail communication because that customer may not sell you the car today, but after 30 days, they probably will if you're still in touch. Most of the dealers gave up after a couple days, maybe a week.
Ian, I just left Florida and Indiana. I don't think you could get two more disparate areas.
Yeah.
And I had a really giant class, over 20 people in Florida and 10 in Indiana. And I sent them both out to mystery shop like I always do to say they're looking for a car for their sister that just had a baby. Not one person said, congratulations, boy or girl, is it her first time being an uncle or aunt? Nobody. So forget about the follow-up part. We're screwing up the initial thing to the point where they can't wait to get the hell out of the dealership. If they don't start right, it's definitely not going to end right.
Well, not only that, and the thing that was really interesting to me as I went through this process with a local Volvo dealer, and I actually went by and drove vehicles with my wife, brought her down, did it old school, and even the questions the salesperson and management was asking didn't make any sense. It was like they were amateurs again, and they hadn't done this for a while. So if you're not training your team on those questions, but more importantly, if you're not really listening to that customer, you're in trouble. I mean, it's going to be a problem for you.
Ian, let me just jump in on that one.
Yeah.
When I was with Volvo a few years back, they brought in a company out of New Jersey called Strativity, who was trying to teach the dealership group a customer experience. And when we went for the launch of it, they talked to us about. The very first question I said, has any one of you ever worked in a car dealership? They said no. I said, okay, that just sets the bar at that point. when I was in my call out session on one of them, they were talking about the three most important things to ask a customer for building the relationship. The third question, which struck, I almost got up and left at that. Where are you planning your next vacation? Was their question. So I can understand that Volvo has a challenge with their customer experience right now, because that was the lead that they were going with. But anyways, gentlemen, I have to run. I thank you very much for your time. You have a great day. Take care.
Yeah, this was not specifically an attack on Volvo dealer. The dealer principal owns 4 locations, so it's not his only franchise. And I know the dealer personally. It was just a comment on basically what are you doing today to make sure that you're selling every car you can, but more importantly, what are you doing today to really talk to that customer about value of their vehicle, market conditions, why they should buy a new vehicle. And it was very interesting because whether it's an online retailer like Clutch in Canada or Canada Drives or just a name brand retailer or other things, the experience generally was pretty lackluster, but there's a lot of learnings. And the learnings from my perspective were basically ask better questions, communicate with that customer the way that they want to be communicated with. So listen to that customer. And then, really be very transparent with them. As Dave said, like that customer may or may not buy a vehicle from you, but you need a vehicle anyway, whether they're selling it or trading it. But more importantly, you need to educate that customer. You need to be in there the long term. You may not do that deal today, but surprisingly, the only other than a dealership that's keep communicating with me, and not ideally, not in a perfect way, is Canada Drives. And I'm not endorsing them by any stretch, but they have a long tail process, and it's a good one. So if you're a dealer, you need to look at that.
I've had a number of people reach out to me. Gee, I need some help. Where can I get a deal? First, I tell them you ain't going to get a deal. So if you're looking for a deal, just don't look. Go look for an experience. But you reminded me of my doctor. He was looking at a new vehicle, and he was looking at he started off. He was looking for like a big 7-seater SUV type thing, and he had a 3-year-old Mercedes. Nobody wanted to talk about his car because it wasn't their brand. Everybody said, you know what? Listen, I think you should be able to sell it yourself. Let's get your name on this car because it's available today. And this wasn't 1, this wasn't 2, this wasn't 3. It was about 5 places of 3 different brands. And unfortunately, it wasn't a Chrysler store because being an old Dodge Chrysler guy, we know what it's like to be, you need the business and want the business. So he wouldn't touch it because it wasn't cool enough for him. Bottom line is, I said, reach out. I wanted to put it online for him to sell, but he didn't want to do that. He reached out to Canada Drives, which is like Carvana in the States, got a number on his trade, and those yo-yos got him another car too, a current model year of what he was looking for.
So
because
don't
all he wanted was to get the deal done, and all everybody else wanted to do was to get him to buy what they wanted.
Well, I think
it's comforting to know that if you are in a horrible car accident and have a brainstem injury, there's plenty of jobs at car dealerships. You don't have to communicate.
That's
you don't
not
have
true.
to listen.
That's
You
not
don't have
true.
to
Larry, let's not piss off another one. Just a second.
That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. I mean, I can say those who can do and those who can't teach, right? I mean, same thing, right?
Yeah.
Brother, I could do and I could teach, and I know if somebody walks in to take and they want to give you your money, you better listen to who they are and what they are and respond.
I think there's what you think's happening and there's what is happening.
Yeah.
I think you have to try and bring those two closer together.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
That's what's going on in dealerships, and that's where guys like you come in, John come in, because your people will tell you guys more what's going on than they'll tell us, and you'll be able to go through it.
Guys like me come in. John Locker goes right for the throat. I'm telling you, we completely changed the
But I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like
you're right, Dave. You're right.
I mean, and that's staff people will tell somebody from the outside something that you're going, really? I didn't know that. Yeah,
Dave. Let me. All kidding aside, what I always say to these guys when they come back from the mystery shop is, the scary thing is when I teach, I try to be as crazy as I am on this call to keep people entertained, so they'll focus and they'll listen. But at the end of the class, I always think, did I go too far? Did I push that guy? These guys, the reason I'm attacking a little too hard, but they screw up. They don't connect. They don't say boy or a girl. They don't connect the dots. And when you leave, they don't sit at their desk and say, could I have done it better? No manager pulls them in and says, hey, what are we doing? To me, right, Einstein's definition of insanity, doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So if you're not successful at something and you're not trying to get better, I just think that's kind of dumb, because there's so much potential in the car.
Sure, but you know what? I mean, we have businesses, we own dealerships. We don't sit and watch the world go by. You know, we didn't spontaneously combust and show up here one day. You know, I mean, I started off walking the floor selling cars. Okay, I'm aware of what's going on, and I try to adapt, and I try to change every day. I meet with Google, I meet with Facebook, I meet with, everything old is new again. You know, it's everybody goes on and on and on about Amazon. Well, Amazon's consumers distributing that delivers.
Oh, it is. Franklin, when you're finished, you're finished. I couldn't agree with you more. But I think you're going to find that not every person in your position responds the same way you do. That's what I'm saying.
Then fantastic. That's good. That's better for me. If they,
that's what I said an hour ago.
I went to a conference one time in this when YouTube was first coming up. This guy's telling us how to do all these videos and everything else. And he told his boss he was going to do this. And his boss said, why are you going to do that? Why would you tell everybody your secret and what works for you? He goes, because most of them are lazy and they're not going to do it anyway.
That's right. It's true.
Well, look at Gary Vaynerchuk. He put out a thing a couple years ago. He said, the reason I did this is 95% of people won't do anything. And I was laughing at that because we were in Vegas and this thing on TikTok, and the video's out there. If you want to check it out, it's on our site. And it was funny.
Saying is you live and then you die, and in between you should turn up the volume. Yeah. You should have as much fun and be as constructive as you can be. And I'll debate anybody on that point. I don't understand people that procrastinate themselves out of it.
Look at that.
It's as dumb as dealers saving their way into a
You see this?
Yeah. Yeah.
I like
hiring
selection retention guy.
Look at this book.
Throw the book out. Buy a plane ticket. Have me come up. Have fun.
I keep the book in case I ever need a big binder.
Yeah, of course. Why don't you just hit somebody in the head to tell them sources with? It'll be a more useful tool that way.
You know, I mean,
The power of what you did there, Dave, was phenomenal. If you pulled the book out, dropped it on your desk, your camera shook. It was like a mic drop. Anyway, we're running out of time. We actually ran out of time 10 minutes ago, but it's been a lot of fun. I thank you all. Dave, I thank you for tuning in. John, for joining us again. Larry, as always. Peter, thanks, man. We appreciate all the support. And
Don Griff.
And just so you know,
now Don's gone.
Yep.
Wrestle an alligator.
Ray Davies, where have all the good times gone? Well, he lost them in Vegas when he got shot. Just so you know.
There you go. I like that. Dave knows his music. Me and you were in, Dave.
I had a beer with him in New Orleans one time.
Cool guy. Cool guy.
Have a great
Okay, gentlemen.
Have a great day.
See you guys.
Have a great week.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Stay warm, Dave.
Thanks for joining us. It was a great show, and follow us anywhere you would like on your favorite podcast, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and of course on our YouTube, or subscribe to our own channel.
See you soon.
Thanks, Don. Take care. See you, Larry.
My brothers.